Welcome to Football Game Plan's Power Rankings here on the Game Plus Network. I am Emory Hunt, the czar of the playbook. We're in week 9 of college football, but week 8 in the NFL. And as always, with all of the moving and shaking and upset that goes on throughout the course of an NFL weekly schedule, we have a new number 1 in our NFL Power Rankings, and we'll start, as always, with number 32. I thought the Cincinnati Bengals had a great chance last week to get their first victory of the season against the Jacksonville Jaguars, but just couldn't get their offense in rhythm enough throughout the game. Now, defensively, they played a great game, and it's a shame that their offense wasted such a damn good defensive effort. The same with the Miami Dolphins, who had a lead against the Buffalo Bills for the majority of the game. The turning point was the outstanding interception that was made by Tre'Davious White on a goal line throw by Ryan Fitzpatrick. That interception helped springboard the Bills' comeback, thus leaving the Dolphins once again winless after Sunday. Looking at teams 26 through 30, and the Washington Redskins played good enough defense last week in a torrential downpour against San Francisco, but couldn't muster up enough offense to get the victory. The Falcons and Broncos looked uninspired in their Week 7 losses, and the Falcons find themselves in danger of potentially losing their head coach if things don't get turned around really quickly. Also, both Denver and Atlanta traded wideouts this week as well. The Broncos traded Emmanuel Sanders to San Francisco, while the Falcons traded Mohamed Sanu to the New England Patriots. And speaking of those Patriots, they had Sam Darnold seeing ghosts on Monday Night Football as the second-year QB had his worst game as a professional, turning the ball over 5 times in a 33-0 loss against New England. Darnold and his offense have to find a way to be consistent week after week. The Giants offense was able to get back both Evan Ingram and Saquon Barkley, but that didn't help them against the Arizona Cardinals as their rookie quarterback Daniel Jones continued to have problems in turning the ball over with an interception and a couple of fumbles. If he can protect the football, I do believe the Giants can definitely win games. Moving on to teams 21 through 25, and the Los Angeles Chargers suffered yet another heartbreaking loss last weekend to the hands of the Tennessee Titans, not being able to punch the ball in with 3 tries from the 1-yard line. Now, Detroit not only lost the game against Minnesota, but also lost their starting running back Kerryon Johnson as well, who will miss a couple of weeks with an injury. And we'll see how the Bucs quarterback Jameis Winston plays coming off of a bye and what was a bad performance out there in London 2 weeks ago against the Carolina Panthers. Now, the Cleveland Browns are also coming off their bye week and will take on the New England Patriots, and this is a great opportunity for them to make a statement against the best team in football, and that statement can definitely be made if they choose to lean on Nick Chubb in that ground game. The Steelers defense played great heading into their bye week last weekend, and it'll be interesting to see if they can keep that same energy going coming out of the bye. Since adding Minkah Fitzpatrick to the secondary, they've started to play much better on the back end and on defense as a whole. As we look at teams 16 through 20, to me, it's a group that find themselves in the same boat, which is probably why they're all hovering around the 500 mark on the season. Chicago can't figure out how to play offense despite having a bevy of playmakers on that side of the ball. The Raiders were going toe-to-toe with Green Bay last week until the Derek Carr fumble out of the end zone, and the Jacksonville Jaguars defense did a great job against Cincinnati, but because of the Bengals' inept offense, the Jaguars' own offense, who was also struggling that day, found a way to put up enough points to get the win. The Tennessee Titans got a huge game last week from their first-round pick Jeffrey Simmons in his first game as an NFL player, having been recovering from a torn ACL that he suffered back in February. Now, they were able to stop the Chargers on a goal line to preserve the win, and with efficient, safe play from Ryan Tannehill, we'll see if their offense can continue to do just enough to help this team string together some victories the rest of the way. Last Sunday night, the Eagles got blown out by the Dallas Cowboys as Carson Wentz's turnovers and just overall ineffective play on both sides of the ball sort of sealed their fate early in that ball game. I still think the Eagles are a very good team, but they have to get things figured out pretty quickly. They're still only 1 game back from the NFC East Division lead, and they have a big-time game this weekend against a very good defense in the Buffalo Bills. Moving into the top half of the league with teams 11 through 15, the Carolina Panthers are coming off their bye week and take on a red-hot San Francisco 49ers squad. And we'll learn a lot about both Jimmy Garoppolo and Kyle Allen, as both quarterbacks, to me, have been skating by on strong defensive play. The Rams defense looked really good last week against the Atlanta Falcons as their new starting cornerback, Alex Ramsey, performed well in his debut. The Arizona Cardinals have quietly won 3 straight games. You can legitimately say that this is a team that has gotten better in every facet of their game with each passing week. So it'll be fun to watch how much they continue to grow the rest of the way. Another week, another Josh Allen comeback victory for the Buffalo Bills. I've also stated many times on here that It's impressive how he's able to zero in during the final stretches of the game when the team needs him the most to get the win or get that key first down needed to get the win. A great test this week against the Eagles, but the Bills are definitely a strong playoff contender this season. Allen, to his credit, has played well down the stretch, but he has to start playing better in the early parts of the game so they don't need him to zero in order to get that comeback victory. He has to put the team in a better situation early on in contests. Now let's get into the top 10, and I like this new aggressive Kirk Cousins that we're seeing for the Minnesota Vikings. He's been killing it the last 2 weeks. The Indianapolis Colts have quietly killed it as well, and shout out to Jacoby Brissett for balling the way he has for this football team. He has them in first place in the AFC South. The Dallas Cowboys got a much-needed win against the Philadelphia Eagles, putting themselves in first place in the NFC East, and it's always funny to hear the national, the regional, and the local media do their best to discredit Dak Prescott, who is by every and any statistical measure that you want to use better than Carson Wentz. Kansas City hopes that they can get at least Carson Wentz level play from Matt Moore until Patrick Mahomes returns from a dislocated kneecap, and we'll see if the offense can be a good complement to a defense that will be asked to step up and raise their level of play this week as Mahomes is on the mend and prepares to return in a couple of weeks. And as promised, we look at our top 5. There's a new number 1, and that's the New Orleans Saints, who sit at 6-1 on the season. Teddy Bridgewater did his job as a starter, 5-0 during his starts, did exactly what you expect your QB2 to do. He did a great job in keeping the offense on pace. He moved the offense forward and did not turn the ball over at a high clip to where they lost games. So whether or not Drew Brees plays against the Arizona Cardinals, the Saints can rest assured that Teddy Bridgewater will always be ready to play when his number is called. And the New England Patriots fall to number 2, and not because of bad play. They're great defensively. They're great at what they do as a team. But when you look at this defense and the records that they've been setting so far, juxtaposed to the quarterbacks that they've played, I think you could make a case that the Saints have played such a stronger schedule than New England. So we'll see how this Patriots defense does on the back end, where they'll see a Patrick Mahomes, they'll see a Dak Prescott, a Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson. So we'll see how they perform then, as opposed to what we saw so far this season that has led them to a 7-0 start. We'll take a quick commercial break and be back with more Football Game Plan's Power Rankings. Football Game Plan is brought to you in part by Ninth and Lux. Visit the website ninethandlux.com and check out the clothing gallery. Do You Music with featured artist IW in his latest album, Season 2. You can check that out on iTunes as well as doyoumusic.com. Nesby Phipps, Art, Life, Entertainment. NesbyPhipps.com. Grind It Out Fitness. Visit the website grinditoutfitness.com and download the app. Financial Coaching LLC, investment, retirement, security. Stewardship Credit, financial growth is in your hands. Stewardshipcredit.com. Adrienne Marie Photo, photographer, writer, management. AdrienneMariePhotography.com. Lock Multimedia.
I'm Alex Marinoni, offering you Football Game Plan's best bets for Week 8. Let's start things off in Buffalo, where the Bills play host to the struggling Philadelphia Eagles. The Bills are coming off a week where they were in a tight one with the Miami Dolphins at home. They were looking to come off a bye week that took them into the second half to really get going. When the second half started, though, they went back to their dominant ways on the defensive end, and the offenses started clicking, taking over the lead and to win the game. They go up against an Eagles team that can't seem to do anything right at this point. In their last 2 games against the Vikings and Cowboys, they have had their secondary get torched and their offensive line take a beating. Now the Bills' passing attack is not something to fear, but with the ability of Josh Allen to make off-schedule type plays, it could lead to some big shots. Defensively, the Bills' defense has been one of the best in the league, as they have shown the ability to stuff the run and avoid the big play. In a matchup at home against an Eagles team that likes to take shots, I expect the Bills to hold their ground and keep Wentz and company in check. With a spread at -1.5, I expect the Bills to get it done. In a battle of struggling teams, we have the LA Chargers heading to Chicago to take on the Bears. The Chargers have been one of the most disappointing teams out of the AFC this year, as their playoff aspirations have been quickly fading away. On the other side, you have the Bears, who some would say had Super Bowl aspirations to begin the year, but have looked anything but a Super Bowl contending team. We have seen the offensive struggles on a week in and week out basis, but last week was the first time we have seen the defense struggle to make stops, allowing the Saints offense to put up 36. Now, going back to the Chargers, one thing we can say about them is they keep all their games close, and Phillip Rivers is not afraid of anybody, no matter the obstacle. In this game, the Bears are favored with the -4.5 opening spread. With Mitch Trubisky back at quarterback and his struggles this season, nothing convinces me that the Bears will win this game, let alone by more than a field goal. The best bet here would be to take the Chargers to cover. Out west, we have the 4-2 Carolina Panthers going into San Francisco to take on the undefeated 49ers. Both of these teams this season have exceeded expectations, with the 49ers off to one of their best starts in franchise history, and the Panthers rattling off 4 consecutive wins with a backup quarterback. The story of this game, though, will be defense, defense, defense. Both teams have been riding the performances of their defenses so far, showing both the ability to get to the quarterback as well as stuffing the run. Nick Bosa and Dee Ford have been standouts up front for the 49ers, and Richard Sherman looks like he has regained form. On the other side, the Panthers' defense have been all over the field, led by Luke Kuechly. Christian McCaffrey has been everything to this Panthers offense, and on the flip side, the 49ers have been relying on the run game with Tevin Coleman, Matt Breida, and Raheem Mostert. Expect the air to be taken out of the ball in this game, and also note that the Panthers are 4-2 against the spread this year. With a spread set at -5 for San Francisco, I'm looking for the Panthers to cover here. Out in New England, we have the Patriots playing host to the Cleveland Browns. The Browns will be coming off a bye, but Bill Belichick has tremendous success up against young quarterbacks. The running game has been the most consistent part of the Browns offense, as Mayfield has struggled to get the passing game going. On the flip side, the Patriots are off to one of their best starts in franchise history, and look to have the defense that can stop anybody. However, the offense hasn't been the unstoppable force we are used to. Playing against inferior opponents so far this season, the Patriots have yet to have that explosive offensive performance we are accustomed to seeing. The Browns' defense has been better as of late, and coming off a bye week, we can expect them to step up. With all that being the case, the line is set at -10 for New England. You can expect the Browns here to cover that spread. Down in Houston, we have the Texans taking on the Oakland Raiders. Both teams are coming off tough losses, but the offenses have been doing their thing. John Gruden and company have been able to get the most out of Derek Carr and Josh Jacobs, and Deshaun Watson has been an MVP candidate so far this season, despite the lack of consistency in the running game. With Tyrell Williams expected to come back, the Raiders could be poised for a nice offensive showing. And for the Texans, with or without Fuller, there has been little reason to doubt the Texans' ability to score points. Both teams needing wins to get back into the thick of things, we can expect them to pull out all the stops on the offensive side of the ball. The over-under right now is set at 51 total points for the game. The best bet here would be to take the over. An interesting game out in Kansas City as we have the Chiefs taking on the Green Bay Packers. The Packers are in a rough stretch in their schedule, having to play tough teams on short weeks or other teams off bye weeks. Having to go on the road into KC will not be an easy task, even with Patrick Mahomes out of the contest. Matt Moore has proven to be a solid quarterback in the league who can keep the offense's mojo going. Should we expect a spectacular plays from Mahomes? Absolutely not, but he is still capable of playing winning football. On the other side, Green Bay has been answering every bell this year. Aaron Rodgers last week looked like Aaron Rodgers in his prime. The potential of Devontae Adams coming back will also make things better for Rodgers, as his cast of unknowns are starting to become household names. Right now, the over-under is set at 48. There's good reason to believe that the over is going to hit in this one. This was Football Game Plan's Best Bets. I'm Alex Marinoni.
Man, it's that old thing, perseverance, consistency, hard work. My goal is to put the same work into, my businesses, my family that I put into football, and I've been running with that mantra since I got married back in '97, that if I'm going to have a successful marriage, I got to, the same hard work and same consistency and discipline I had on the football field, I got to put in my marriage and with my kids and with my businesses and all that. So it teaches you a lot, man. How to deal with your fellow man and not look at his color, but look at what he can do for the overall good of what you're trying to accomplish. So sports to me in general is just an incredible deal when you talk about football specifically because of the closeness of guys. I just believe it's an amazing sport.
Be sure to order your copy of the Go-Go Offense by Coach Brennan Marion on footballgameplan.com/GoGoOffense. Coach Marion goes through the ins and outs of his explosive offense, one that's tearing up the college football field and putting a lot of points on the scoreboard. Again, you can order your copy at footballgameplan.com/GoGoOffense.
I'm Troy Anthony with your NFL Football Game Plan Week 8 Best Bets. The Rams and Bengals head to London to face off at Wembley Stadium. I have to take the Rams here on the money line at -625. You might want to parlay with that with something. That's a huge money line to take by itself. The spread for this game is the Rams -12.5. You never know what Bengals team you're going to get, and they've been in the close games with a couple of good teams, only losing to the Seahawks by 1 point, the Ravens by 6, and the Bills by 4. And it being in London scares me a little bit to take that spread. But I feel with the money line with the Rams, you should be safe in this one. The Giants head to Detroit to take on the Lions. Detroit dropped a couple of games in a row now, but they were all against good teams, and I would not define the Giants as a good team at all. They struggled to keep pressure off of Daniel Jones, and he's had a number of turnovers as well. We thought that the Giants defense may have began to turn a corner here, holding the Patriots in check for the most part in the first half, and before that, stopping the Vikings a couple times inside the red zone. But the Cardinals took it to them on the ground last week. Even though the Lions look to be without Kerryon Johnson, I think Stafford gets this one done through the air. So I'm taking the Lions here, money line, at -286. Breeze may be coming back this week versus the Cardinals. Or it may be Bridgewater staying at the helm. Regardless, this offense is clicking no matter which quarterback is starting. Kyler Murray looks to be coming into his own as an NFL quarterback and has shown that he has more command of that offense. It looks to me that this may be a shootout in the dome. So at -110, I'm taking the over in the spread, over 47.5. Jacoby Brissett continues to get it done for the Indianapolis Colts, consistently passing for multiple touchdown games. The Colts look to be like a complete team on offense and on defense. As far as the Broncos, you can never really call which defense is going to show up, and their offense just is inconsistent at all. Their running game is iffy as well, and Joe Flacco does not look to be the answer at quarterback. The Colts take the victory in this one, money line, -275. Sam Darnold and the Jets offense just can't catch a break, going over superb defense after superb defense. Week 1, it was the Bills, then the Cowboys for Darnold, then the Patriots. Now it's this ferocious Jacksonville Jaguars front seven. The question is, will the Jets be able to stop Leonard Fournette in the Minshew magic? The Jaguars might just prove too much to handle in this one, so I'm taking them on the money line, at home, -220. Last we saw of Jameis Winston, he was committing 6 turnovers in London. I wasn't expecting that at all. I thought Bruce Arians had finally turned around his turnover habit. This Titans team just squeaked out a victory last week against the Chargers, when the Chargers unexplainably ran the ball with no time left on the clock at the 1-yard line. Arians is probably one of the smartest coaches in the game, and he'll be sure not to make mistakes like that in this one. The Buccaneers should pull this one out. That's why I'm taking them on the money line, +117 on the road. For your Football Game Plan Week 8 NFL Best Bets, I'm Troy Anthony.
I love football. I cannot get enough of football. I watch it on every level.
The emotional release. You know, whether it's an exciting play that gets you all jacked up and juiced, or whether it's the fact that you're able to pour everything you have. Whatever frustration you had that week, you can put into that first kickoff coverage, that first block that you have, whatever it might be.
And I couldn't think of anything better to do to fill that void that you have as a football player than to get into coaching.
You get a chance to release a lot of emotion that you otherwise have no place to release. There's nothing else like that.
Again, the relationships you build and the people you're around and watching the guys compete, not just on the football field, but in life after they get done playing. It's just an amazing game.
Welcome back to Football Game Plan here on the Game Plus Network, our Power Rankings show. And we've talked a lot about the Heisman Trophy and other awards pertaining to the FBS. But now let's talk about the FCS equivalent to the Heisman Trophy, and that's the Walter Payton Award, which will be given out in January before their FCS title game. And here are my top 5 candidates to win that award this upcoming winter. At number 5, we have the FCS leading rusher and VMI's running back Alex Ramsey, who's been flat out balling this season. Ramsey has 935 yards rushing and an FCS leading 17 rushing touchdowns. He's been having a fantastic season so far for the Keydets. And his teammate, quarterback Reese Udinsky, is also having a fantastic season. The junior signal caller has already broken the FCS record for consecutive passes without throwing an interception. And speaking of interceptions, he has 0 on the season while tossing 14 touchdowns. Monmouth's Pete Guerriero is the 4th leading rusher in the nation, but has numerous chunk play highlight type runs that leave your mouth wide open. Last week against Gardner-Webb, Guerriero ripped off a 65-yarder and a 55-yarder for touchdowns, weaving through the running Bulldogs defense like the water in the Nile River. Outstanding player at the position. Kevin Thompson's leadership in play has been a big reason why the Hornets are ranked in the top 10 for the first time in program history and are looking to crash the FCS playoffs for the first time in school history as well. Thompson has thrown for over 2,100 yards, 23 touchdowns to only 5 interceptions, and he's definitely getting the job done out west. So has our number 1 Payton Award candidate right now in quarterback Trey Lance, the North Dakota State Bison redshirt freshman who leads the team in both passing and rushing. He's ranked 63rd in the nation in passing yards nationally, but has thrown 15 touchdowns and no interceptions this season, and it's his overall playmaking ability that has North Dakota State steamrolling the competition this season. He's going to be a great player throughout the course of his career with the Bison. So that's it for this week's episode of Football Game Plan's Power Rankings. I'm Emory Hunt, the Zara of the Playbook. Be sure to follow me on all of my social media accounts. And don't forget to check out and subscribe to the Football Game Plan Network located at youtube.com/footballgameplan. Also subscribe to Football Game Plan Podcast on iTunes. We can find our NFL All 32 podcast, our College Football Tailgate podcast, our FCS Opening Drive podcast, amongst many others. And keep it locked here on the Game Plus Network tomorrow and also Friday evening at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time for our College Football Tailgate show and our NFL All 32 show. Again, each one of these shows are at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Check your cable provider for channel listings.